Welcome to the next episode of the Dark Web Deacon. So let's check our secure connections, adjust our hoodies, and as always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. For this episode, we're going to look at 10 of the most disturbing photos ever to show up on the dark web. Some are clear hoaxes, some are 100% real. Can you tell the difference?
Number 10.
A mental patient in 1900. This image is real. Seen in the photo is one of the countless patients being restrained in a French mental institution in 1900. It's unclear what condition this unfortunate patient was suffering from or how long they were left hanging there. At the time, people could get committed for anything from depression, unknown mental disorders, and even learning disabilities. The abuses of patients like this often happened, especially behind closed doors. We are left only to our imagination. What happened to this poor soul as they lived out the rest of their life in this mental institution?
Number 9.
Einstein riding a bike after an A-bomb explosion. This image is a hoax. Despite the popular assumption that Einstein did indeed work on the Manhattan Project to build the first atomic bomb, he actually didn't. Einstein's theories did help to lay a foundation for the nuclear age, and he did encourage President Roosevelt, along with other scientists at the time, to consider investing more heavily in atomic research. The photo is clearly a Photoshop image of two real images, one of Einstein riding his bike, and the other of a real atomic bomb explosion. The atomic explosion in the photograph was actually taken 7 years after Einstein's death.
Number 8.
Giant human skeleton. This image is a hoax. This picture has showed up in a few versions over the last 20 years. One of the images originated from a 2008 hoax photograph contest called Archaeological Anomalies 12 from the website Worth 1000. Also, a series of images purportedly showing the skeletal remains of the biblical figure Goliath, along with the claim that the massive fossil had recently been unearthed in Jerusalem, gained popularity online in February of 2018. The idea of a Goliath skeleton is a retelling of the infamous tabloid Weekly World News article from 1993. The tabloid published images purportedly showing the giant's slingshot-wounded skull, and then followed that up with a series of stories about the fictional discovery, complete with quotes from made-up archaeologists.
Number 7.
Woman at the World Trade Center impact site. This photo is real. Numerous websites identified the woman as Edna Cintron, 46, an employee with insurance brokers Marsh & McLennan. Cintron's husband reportedly confirmed her identity. Marsh & McLennan was located on floors 93 through 100 of the North Tower, and Edna sat on floor 93. She was one of, if not the only person to survive the initial impact zone of Tower 1. She was seen throughout the ordeal, waving and trying to call for help. Shortly before Tower 2 collapsed, Edna was seen falling from Tower 1. According to her husband, who was interviewed later, her body was never found.
Number 6.
Human dolls. This photo is real. The dolls belong to Anatoly Moskvin, who is a Russian journalist. For years, his hobby of collecting dolls hid a macabre obsession that drew upon his particular interests, which was digging up the dead and making dolls out of their corpses. After making his human dolls, he kept them in his home as his companions and lovers. Police finally caught Moskvin in 2011 after years of increasing suspicion at the growing number of desecrated graves in his home city. When they searched his home, they found 26 life-size dolls in his house.
Number 5.
Spontaneous human combustion. This photo is real. The photo is of Mary Reeser. On the morning of July 2nd, 1951, her landlord noticed that her door was warm to the touch. Upon opening the door, she found Reeser almost completely reduced to a pile of ashes, lying on the scorched remnants of her chair. Local authorities were unable to determine any cause of the blaze, and the rest of the apartment was largely devoid of any type of damage. The FBI determined that Reeser had gone up in flames like a wick of a candle, but they were baffled as to how the blaze started in the first place. To this day, it's widely believed that this is one of the best cases of spontaneous human combustion.
Number 4.
Hitler shaking hands with an alien. This photo is a hoax. A top 10 disturbing photo list is not complete without at least one photo of Hitler. According to this hoax proclaimed by hardcore conspiracy theorists and tabloids, Hitler didn't commit suicide in 1945, but hopped in a U-boat to Antarctica to cohabitate with aliens called Grey Reptilian Confederates. There, the Nazis were said to be dabbling with UFO technology, in which the aliens were assisting scientists to design a gigantic cigar-shaped UFO mothership. The reality is the actual photo is of Hitler shaking hands with Neville Chamberlain, who might have been a spineless worm, but he was not an alien.
Number 3.
2 engineers hugging on a burning wind turbine. This photo is real. A crew of 4 were conducting routine maintenance at the 67-meter-high wind turbine when fire suddenly broke out. 2 of the 4 were able to escape while the other 2 got trapped. You can see the 2 engineers hug and cling to each other as the fire and smoke heads toward them with no escape. According to news reports, one of them jumped to their death, while the other was succumbed to the flames. What makes this more heartbreaking is that the 2 engineers were just 19 and 20 years old respectively. This accident happened in October 2013 at a wind farm in Holland.
Number 2.
The Russian sleep experiment. This image is a hoax. The story behind the picture states that Russians invented a drug to stop people from sleeping, then locked a handful of patients in a room for 30 days to see what would happen. After a few days of no sleep, the subjects began to attack each other and rip off their own skin. The image is supposedly a Polaroid taken by a doctor and guard of the final and remaining patient of the experiment before succumbing to the lack of sleep. While military powers have performed often intense and immoral experiments on people to build a better soldier or human being, the story of the Russian sleep experiment is not one of them. The disturbing image of the last test subject smiling is actually a sculpture by the name Spasm, which was created by Morbid Enterprises in 2005 in celebration of Halloween.
Number 1.
Canine head transplant. This photo is real. In 1959, Soviet scientist Vladimir Dekhovov managed to create a 2-headed dog. After 23 failed tries, he grafted one dog's head onto the other's body. He sewed together their circulatory systems and connected the vertebrae with plastic strings. After the procedure was completed, both heads could hear, see, smell, and swallow. Sadly, his methods were still relatively crude, and the dog only lived for about 4 days before dying. While his research was a pioneering foray into head transplantation, it is ethically dubious and very disturbing. Check out the Dark Web Deacon merch store. We have high-quality t-shirts, accessories, and signature hoodies, of course, and become a true Dark Web enthusiast in VIP. New videos are published every Monday and Thursday.